Now we're going to go through page 11, starting with number 27, Olympic high jump. Notice that there is a repeat at the end of the piece, which, think to yourself, what does that tell you you have to do? You're going to have to play it twice through. Also, I am noticing the difference between when I have high D and when I have open D. They're both named D, but they're going to sound very different. I've also noticed that I have C sharp in this piece, so I'm going to make sure I think about that sharp. The brackets at the bottom, remind yourself, what did those brackets mean? Those brackets mean that when you put your fingers down to play high D, you can leave those fingers down while you play your open D. You don't need to pick them up. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to speak our note names with the music. Here we go, speaking, singing. 2, and in. D, 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 sharp. D, 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 sharp. D, 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 sharp. D, 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 sharp. D. Good. If you need to review that, you can go back through those note names and practice that. Now we are going to pluck while we play and speak our note names out loud. D, 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 sharp. D, 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 sharp. D, 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 sharp. D, 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 sharp. D. Good. If you need to practice that, pause here, go through that a few more times, or back up and go through it. Now we're going to play all of Olympic high jump without speaking our note names, but while plucking with the music. In this piece, we're going to go through number 28, let's read B. B is a new note for us. If you are a violin or viola, it is going to be your first finger on your A string. Cellos, it's also your first finger on your A string. Basses, B for you is going to be 4 fingers back in first position on your G string. So let's go through and let's say our note names. We're looking at where B is. Let's sing our note names in with the music. B, 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 or you can sing here. B, 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 B. You can sing it in either register, that's fine. Now let's put our instruments up with our good posture. We're going to check our finger pattern and we are going to play Let's Read B with the music while plucking and speaking our note names. Ready, and B, 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 B. That one's pretty straightforward. Let's do it now without speaking our note names out loud and just playing the notes. Good posture. Good job. All right, now we're going to look at number 29, halfway down. I am checking that the rhythm is a little bit different here. I'm noticing that it's not as simple as some of my other pieces. I'm also noticing if I'm a bass player, I see that I'm going to start in third position on that high D, but that I'm going to need to move my hand back to first position for B and A. Also, take a look at measure 2. We see that the first note is labeled as a C sharp with the sharp there at the beginning. So we have to decide what does that mean for the other 2 notes in measure 2. Hopefully you remember that those are still going to be C sharps. So we're going to start by singing our note names with the music. D, D, sharp, 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 B, B, A, A. Okay, now we're going to pluck that while we say our note names. Again, double check that rhythm. Make sure you are counting the rest and the notes very carefully. Your eyes should be ahead on the next note. Here we go. D, D, sharp, 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 B, B, A. Good. Now we're going to play this one without saying our note names out loud. Check your posture, check your left hand. Here we go. Now we're going to take a look at number 30, right back up. You might notice that halfway down and right back up are kind of similar, just in opposite directions. Halfway down, we're going down the scale with the rhythmic pattern, and right back up, we're going back up our string with the same rhythmic pattern. Basses, you're going to be starting in first position, but you're going to have to move to that third position. You can practice that shift back and forth. That would be great to practice back and forth. And try and keep your eyes on the music and use your ears to adjust when you shift. Okay, just a reminder, in measure 3, I see that there's a C sharp. I see the sharp marking at the beginning of the measure, which tells me something for that second note in the measure. We're going to start, as we always do, by speaking or singing our note names. Here we go. A, B, 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 sharp, sharp, D, D, D. Good. You can always review that if you struggled on that one. Now we're going to play it while we pluck. Check your posture. You might still be needing to go from your Statue of Liberty. Okay, cellos, make sure your left hands are really nice and open and spread out, and that you get high enough for that 4th finger. Violins and violas, your fingers are hovering and ready to go. Here we go. A, B, 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 sharp, sharp, D, D, D. Good. If you're struggling with that one, review it a couple more times, but I'm going to play it now without speaking my note names. Now we're looking at number 31, down the D scale. A scale, as it says in the book, is a sequence of notes in ascending or descending order. We're going to be learning lots of scales throughout our study of music, and this one is our first one, our D scale. Okay, most scales have 8 notes, and they start and end on the name of the note that you are saying. So a D scale is going to start on D. For us, we're going to start on our open D. We're going to go up to our high D, and then we might come right back down. And in fact, in this one, we're starting at the top, and we're going to work our way down. One of the challenging things about this one is going to be your changing strings. This is one of the first times where we have changed strings, and we'll talk about it as we go. But we're going to start by saying our note names or singing them out loud. Remember to say sharp if it's a C sharp or an F sharp. Here we go. Sharp, E, 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 D, D, D. Now let's practice that transfer. So right now, let's put your instruments up. And I want you to put your first finger down like you are going to play B if you are a violin, viola, or a cello, or an A if you are a bass. Put your first finger down, violin, viola, cello, on your A string, cello's on your bass is on your G string. Now, let's think about that right there. And now let's pick up all of our fingers and let's put them right down as quick as we can on our D string. Violins, violas, that'd be 3 fingers. Cellos, that would be 4 fingers. Basses, that would be 4 fingers. Okay, go back to that. Put your first finger down on your A string or G string basses. Open string, 3 or 4 fingers. Okay, and in fact, we're gonna pluck that. Basses, it's gonna sound a little different for you, but I'm gonna pluck that. I'm gonna go B, B, A, G, G. Here we go. 1, 2, try it, and. Basses for you, it's going to be first finger A, open G, 4 fingers for F sharp. Let's try that transfer one more time. You're thinking about getting your fingers over to the next string as quickly as you can while maintaining good posture. Cello's reaching that 4th finger high enough. Bass is getting that 4th finger high enough. Let's try it again. So it's going to be 1, 1, open, open, 3 or 4, 3 or 4. 1, 2, ready, and. Again, basses, the notes are different for you, but the concept is the same. Now, if that's trouble, pause the video here and practice that transfer a few more times, going from here to the next string over and getting all those fingers down. If you're feeling pretty good about it, let's try plucking our down the D scale while saying our note names or singing our note names out loud. And there's the transfer. G, G, G. Basses, here's yours. Sharp, sharp, sharp. E, E, E. D, D, D. Good. If you are still stuck on that string crossing transfer, spend a few moments, go back through that again. I'm going to play this one more time without singing my note names out loud, but I am going to play it. Here we go. Look at number 32, up the D scale. This is just like down the D scale, but in the other direction. That crossing between strings is easier as well, because you're going to go from more fingers to fewer fingers. So we hopefully won't have to practice that as much. As always, we're going to start by saying or singing our note names out loud in rhythm, making sure to notice when there are sharps and we need to say sharp, and understanding that those carry through the measure. Here we go. Let's speak and sing. D, 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 E, 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 sharp, 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 G, 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 I, this while we sing and play our note names. Check your posture. Make sure your instrument is straight. Cello is you're sitting up nice and tall. Bass is you're standing tall. Cello and bass, check that elbow. Make sure it is above your instrument. Good, here we go. You've just played through your first scale. Okay, you've played up the D scale. You've also played down the D scale. I'm going to play through this one more time without singing it out loud and just playing the notes.